But to be in love with someone, I don't know, to never find them boring, to never, it's like dropping a rock into an empty well and never hearing it hit the bottom. That's what I think love is for me. And the hard part about that is you have to fall in love to throw the rock down that well in the first place. And even though you might not ever expect to hear it hit the bottom, one day it might, and then you just have to crawl out and do it all over again, I guess. And that's what the scary part is that risk that still one day you're going to hear that rock hit the bottom. And I guess why that is love for me is because I think I read people easily. I think that or at least that's what I care about. That's what I think my, like, sixth sense to the world is. You know, everybody has something kind of that they're sensitive to, and I think that's what I'm sensitive to is seeing how far a person goes mentally, you know? I hope that makes sense. And so I try, you know, I desire to surround myself with people that figuring them out is a very, very long and interesting process. So that's really playing into my idea of love as of recent. Because I want to spend the rest of my life with my best friend, who also gives me good sex. I've been sitting here so long, my foot's asleep. Fuck love. Fuck love. I guess what keeps me going about thinking that there is a true, ideal, perfect out there is the fact that I think I've seen it. It's hard to say that when you don't know what happens behind closed doors, but again, being sensitive to social interactions, I think I have seen a married couple or two people together that really emulated true love. And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me waiting. I think when I imagine finding someone that's like true love, I think it's going to be very, very simple. I think it's going to be very honest, and it's going to be very present without needing to be said that it's present. Or at least that's what I want love to be. Like, you know what the other person's saying, but they don't have to say anything at all. Like that. That's the way I want love to be. I want love to be very simple. I think it's strange and interesting that matters to me as a personality too, because one of my best friends ever is a personality that doesn't matter to. That being with someone at the end of the day, you know, like, doesn't matter what happens during the day, but as long as you can come back and fall into the same bed as that one person, that's a very, very important desire for me. That I want to get married, I want to have kids, I want to have a forever. But I know someone that just like deep down and honestly, that's just not a priority. We're saying not that it might not happen to them, because, who knows? We're so young. I hate to, it's not like I can determine what's going to happen in the rest of her life, but so interesting. What is love if it's different for everyone? What is love if it's not a priority? Romantic love if it's not a priority. And I could extend this whole conversation to include, the very basic idea of love. Like, what is love, basically? And I guess I know I've said it before, but I guess it just boils down to sacrifice. Jesus loves you because he made the biggest sacrifice of all. For future reference, people who are not in love should not spend 50 minutes deciding what love is. For the people that are also going to answer this question for you, make sure they're in love or falling out of it. I bet that would be a lot more interesting, because people who are kind of floating in between, it's very, very long and boring. And I can't help but notice that throughout this whole video, a lot of the arguments I make, to me, parallel arguments to God. And I do mention it once, and it took a lot for me not to say it during the video, and now that I go back through it, I want to say something about it. It's very interesting to me that a lot of claims to whether or not love exists, or whether or not love is real, or what defines love, is whether or not God exists. So is God love? I think a lot of people would say so. I think a lot of people would say things like, you cannot love without, I don't know, God in your heart or something, or compare that God is the ultimate love. So I think it's very interesting too that these feelings, these intangible feelings, yet they're still there, yet they cannot be denied, is intertwined with the mystery of God. What that means, I don't know yet. I don't know. And I am sure I'm not the first person to say this. But it interests me very much. Perhaps finding your true love is finding God. And I don't mean that God is your true love, but I don't mean that God is like God as an entity, God as a being is your true love in the romantic sense, but maybe that's what loving a person is I don't know, but then again, that also doesn't make any sense to me at all, too. Sounds like a bunch of bullshit. Single people should not talk about love.